offshore in the Gulf, there's a lot of, kind of hidden spots. And right here is Jay, one of the best offshore fishermen I know on this coast. And what he does is he explores a lot of Gulf waters. He spent a lot of time staring at depth finders, while he's running. And this is a spot he believes is an old shipping container crate. So we anchored up and hooked up into a big fish, dropped the pinfish down. And the fish got actually stuck in the bottom. So he kind of waited it out and brought it up. Big spinning rods, as he loves to use. Turns out, big old Goliath. So we unhooked it, released it to live another day. A lot of glass pretty much on all offshore reefs and some of the bigger ledges now as well. Off the back of the boat we had a pinfish free line, started screaming, and what do you know, big old kingfish. Didn't have a gaff on the boat, made it a little interesting. Tried a few different things to get it in the boat, and so Jay ended up getting a little lucky here, reaches over and just does the old tail grab. Hand on the leader, no wire or anything, just a circle hook, kind of got the fish right in the perfect spot. So very, very lucky. So there it is, nice healthy June king. Pretty big for the time of year, especially summertime. We got back to bottom fishing some more. We're catching some red snapper. Kind of weeding through them. They were more aggressive first, as most spots that they're on, they'll be one of the first fish to eat. And so Stephanie was dropping down some hog ball jigs, catching a lot of fish, and so she got a nice fat mangrove snapper. I think it's a 1 1/4 ounce gold. I'm just using, cut bait, shiners, just a variety. And so here's something I was doing. I was dropping a lighter jig head, probably about an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce. One of the things to do when you're using a jig head is you just want that thing to fall naturally. So I was just leaving it in the rod holder at times, wasn't even holding it, and just feeding the line out, let that bait fall very naturally. And this is why she's fighting the fish. So it gets hit, try to grab it real quick, missed it. You'll see her fish come up right here and spits off, and while she's doing that, I drop my bait back down and I'm on. The fish, when you're using a jig head, they'll follow your jig head up if you start to pull it away from them, as long as you don't rip that bait off. And so this is a nice fat mangrove snapper. And you can see the jig head. It's probably about a 1/4 ounce. Current was moving a little bit. We were able to get some chum up because you got some chum in the bucket there. And there's that mango with the jig head right in the top. You'll notice jig head fishing, those fish, they're coming up as your bait's going down. So they eat it, and then bam, they head straight for the bottom. So your hook is typically going to end up at the corner of the mouth when you're using a jig head. A lot of people asking a circle hook, J hook on a jig head. I just tell them, J hook is going to get the lips most of the time. I know there's some debate on what's needed with the jig head, but you're not going to have many fish swallow it if you're paying attention and you're getting that bail flipped over and you're getting them, cranking on right away. A lot of times lip hooks. So next thing we did was we went to a spot a little deeper. That first spot was about 110. This is about 140 feet of water, and he just said it was some nice hard bottom. So we dropped and we got a mangrove snapper while we were dropping. And one of the things to do is, if you're getting mangroves while you're drifting, the bite's probably pretty good. Let's see a lionfish right there. And so if you're getting good fish while you're just kind of motor fishing and prospecting a spot, say you're getting a gag grouper, you're getting mangrove snapper, you're getting yellowtail snapper, most likely those fish are feeding on that spot. And so you might want to come back around and anchor it. So we had some, good bait shows, just a real broad area. There was nothing real crazy showing on the depth finder, other than a few fish here and there. But knowing that the fish were eating, we decided to anchor on it. And so you can see mangrove snapper here. And you can kind of tell their behavior when they see that sand pick up. They get a little interested. Makes you think, man, maybe they're turning on. So what you see here, you got some beeliners, and then up here is a school of cigar minnows. So if you ever see bait while you're drifting or just looking at a spot that kind of comes real quick and goes, this is what it looks like on the bottom. School of cigar minnows, hardtail, some people call them. And what we were actually using for bait was frozen cigar minnows. So I think the snapper kind of liked their natural bait that they were seeing on that spot, and it ended up working out really well for us. So you can kind of see somebody says they're on hard bottom. You're going to see a lot of vegetation. There's a red grouper kind of sitting in the grass over there. And fishing these spots, if you start with dead bait, you'll tend to get a little chump slick going on the bottom. Frozen sardines, cut thread fins, shrimp, squid. The fish will start eating, and they'll come from all around the area to kind of inspect what you're doing. Porgy right there. And so that dead bait chump slick, gets these fish from, what might be an area the size of, a basketball court or the size of a football field. So there's a bait right there, and you can see the fish kind of checking it out, triggerfish looking at it like he wants to eat it. And you'll get those fish from all around the area coming to inspect what's going on when the dead bait chump starts getting going, gets a little scent in the water. It's a great way to fish some of these hard bottom spots that are very broad and big. And so it's nothing real special. You might just see some thick lines and some bait shows on your depth finder. If you're seeing them as you're drifting over a fairly large area, that's a good thing. You just want to kind of anchor up and start fishing. By using that dead bait, you'll get a lot of fishing from the area. And so we ended up getting a bunch of mangrove snapper off this spot. It was a pretty good bite. So GoPro's going up. So that's one of the nice mangoes. Hog ball. Current was moving pretty good, but I was able to get it down. And as soon as I could feel the bite, it was as soon as it hit the bottom, man, fish on. So Jay kind of dropping as well. Nothing too special here. I think it's one of those red grouper. Red grouper, and you can see it's the tail of a cigar minnow. Cigar minnows tend to stay on the hook a little better than a Spanish sardine. They're a little thicker skin than a Spanish sardine, which kind of turns into a little bit of mush, and you're not going to get that bait to stay on nearly as easily. So I kept fishing. I think the red snapper on this drop. Yeah, red snapper. You'll get a lot of those, 18 to 20 inch red snapper in schools. So let me see. So here's kind of what we were doing. It's a hog ball, and then that's the tail side. You can hook it right through the tail. You want it to go straight down. If you're going through the head part, there's the hard spot in front of the eyes, basically what I call the nose, where you'll feel that bait just kind of pop in, click in, stays on pretty well. So Stephanie ended up hooking into a real big fish here. It's a big red grouper, big old chunky red grouper. It's probably about an 18-pounder. Fire truck. See here, it's a big red grouper. And this was towards the end of fishing that spot. So, by getting that chump slick going in the water, we're able to get that fish, and those red grouper kind of pushing towards us from, around the area. It's a big fish. So the rest of the day, we just kind of bounced around, just kind of checked out some of Jay's spots. I caught my first African pompano, which is sweet. Got a bunch of red snapper. So I'll just kind of run through some of that video here and leave the audio running from the actual fishing. So enjoy. was on the tail, right? That was immediate. Looks groupery. Might be legal though. Kind of back up. It's called snapper. It's looking white. Might be a big red snapper. Yeah, it's bigger than any of the other red snapper though. Yeah. No, it's a mang. It is a mang. Ah.
Oh. Yeah, you'll catch that.
All right, so we're staying a little bit longer still.
Oh! Snap is all jacked up in there. Oh wow!
Hey, I got a red snapper.
Hi, Stephanie.
Wow.
Alright, anchor here? Yeah. Maybe one more
Piggy.
like that. Piggy. Alright, don't go anywhere for a second. Woo! That's what we came for right there.
Wow. You just found this place?
Yeah, just whatever.
I know, I probably will.
I'm scared to straighten a hook. I'm scared to straighten it. After the last two.
It's not made for this. What are you calling?
Big red snapper for your pot winner.
I love pot.
Sorry, Taxi.
He's up a little bit, isn't he?
Getting hit?
Here, go check my rod. He just got walloped. Yeah, it's on. Reel. Just reel. Oh, it's off.
Johnny, here goes mine.
What do you
Red
got?
snapper.
Almost a trip. Oh. Yeah. Oh god. Okay. Okay. We got a mess. Hold on. That. Oh.
Now. Broke.
Oh.
Loser.
Catch that on, Jay.
Little pinfish.
That's what I had on my bigger rod. Hopefully it's not.
That's got a grouper for sure.
You might want to get that untangled because if like that big rod does get hit. You got a fish over there now?
Nice grouper. That's a grouper.
Oh my god!
Get a grouper.
Come on!
Nice stuff. Another keeper. Keep a grouper, baby.
Good job. Tired?
Yeah.